Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode. This is your host, Davey Kim. Thank you so much, Jake, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Tambour is a name of brand?
Yes, that's the brand of our liquor.
So what is the name of the liquor in Benin?
The palm liquor, it's called Sodabi.
Sodabi.
And that's the alcohol based from palm wine. And then our brand name is Tambour.
Okay. Sodabi. How do you spell it?
Let's see.
So I haven't been to Africa, in fact, but this is the first time here about the Benin. Yeah, share with us about the place you live now.
Sure. So Benin is in West Africa along the coast between Nigeria and Togo.
Mm-hmm.
It's French speaking, so it was formerly a French colony.
Right.
And let's see, it's the birthplace of voodoo. That's something that it's well known for due to the slave trade that went between Benin and the Americas. Sort of brought this religion over, and that's sort of one of the things that the country is known for outside of the country.
Got it. Look at your background profile, and you are American, right? And you studied MIT as a mechanical engineer, and then you work at some of the interesting company, but now you are at Benin.
Yeah.
So people may feel very, very interested. What happened to you? What led you to...
Maybe not the normal course of action for most MIT engineers, right?
Right.
No, but I've always been someone that's been adventurous, looking for new opportunities, trying something new, trying something different. And so, yeah, I guess the story makes sense for me, right? So I was an engineer after my bachelor's from MIT and master's from UCLA. I worked for a couple years in the medical device industry, doing some design for implantable medical devices. But after that, I went back to school for my MBA. I was always interested in starting my own business at some point. And I did my MBA in France. And so I actually started learning French a bit during that program. And my business partner happened to be stationed in Benin through the Peace Corps, which is a volunteer organization, where he spent 2.5 years in a small village in Benin working on several different projects. And, sort of figured that it could be a good opportunity to do something for business related here. Basically, Eric, my business partner, had me try some of the local spirits from here, some Sodabi, and I thought it was very interesting, thought if it could be refined, that it could have a place in the world market. So started developing that as my final project in the MBA, got some good feedback, and was finishing my MBA at the same time he was finishing his volunteer service. And so we decided to give it a shot and start the company together.
You have run the business quite a long time already, right?
Yes, that was back in 2012 that I moved to Benin. So it's coming up on 9 years. Yeah.
Right. So very interesting. How does that taste like? Sodabi, palm liquor?
Yeah, Sodabi, it's definitely a unique flavor. You can't really say that it's exactly like any of the other spirits. It's its own category. But the palm wine that it's distilled from, it comes from the sap of the palm tree. And if you look at a palm tree, it's quite similar to a sugarcane plant, just a lot bigger. Yes. So it actually has I'd say a lot of similarities with some rums. So I consider it a cousin to rum.
Okay. Rum and the whiskey, during the process of making alcohol, they added something in order to add a flavor, right? For the Sodabi, can you explain how does that smell and what kind of flavor it has?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll continue along the rum parallel. We have 2 flavors right now that we're selling. So we have a clear, which is just distilled 100% from palm wine and then nothing added.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a spiced version, which we do the same process, but then infuse 14 botanicals to give it a different flavor profile, to highlight some of the other flavors from the region.
So basically, African herb.
Yeah, we have herbs, we have fruits, we have spices, a little bit of honey.
And how strong is it? What percentage of alcohol?
Our clear is 42% and our spiced is 45%.
Wow, very strong. Okay.
Yeah. The history of Sodabi and the tradition of Sodabi, people think of it as a very strong spirit. And so we wanted to keep that essence when we brought it to the rest of the world.
Yeah. I mean, looking at your background, you studied MIT, mechanical engineer, and then also studied MBA, right? And then after that, you came to think about this business. Then what is the vision? What is the vision that made you excited about starting this business?
I think it's just that there was so much opportunity, and sort of starting at a low level. I think there's a lot more opportunities across Africa than maybe in some more developed markets, because the markets are so developed. Now, it also comes with many challenges, of course.
Right.
I think, if I were to start another distillery in the US, I mean, in New York City alone, there's hundreds of distilleries that have popped up in the last dozen or so years. It just was less interesting to me than really being able to create a new product for the world market.
Right.
And in a sort of a terrain that would be a little bit more challenging, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more adventurous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can understand. I mean, experience. Even you decide to become entrepreneur, Silicon Valley, and then other African guys started a venture in Africa. It is a very different experience. They are those very different experience, right? And in US and developed the world, like come up with the idea to disrupt the market. So replace one technology, one product, one services, something like that. But starting a venture in Africa, just like you need to create everything from the scratch, right? Build a business model from the scratch, right? That's an entirely different experience. I can imagine you may feel the different rewarding experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And it really allows me to be involved with many different aspects of business and parts of the culture here and everything. So I find that very interesting.
Yes. You are producing the Tambour, and then are you selling in locally, or are you exporting to the other market as well?
We're doing both. We still sell more locally than export, but that should be changing later this year or next year normally. Our idea was to sort of get the product the way we wanted it and then start figuring out how to scale it up. And so although the market is small here due to lower purchasing power and ours being a premium good, we still definitely have people that are interested in it here, and we are able to sell a fair amount. Have started selling recently in Germany through a e-commerce site, Manuyo, who's doing like a bunch of great high-end African products that they're selling into the European market. We're also selling in New York. So we do have some representation abroad, but still more locally.
How much is the consumer retail price of your Tambour?
It depends really by different markets. So in the US and in Europe, it's about, let's say, $40 to $50 a bottle for the end user. In Benin, it's about half that due to taxes and transport costs, markups.
Then it's something like a $20, but I can imagine that's not a cheap price for local people.
It's not. It's
right?
Not a product that everyone can buy, but it is sort of along the same price range as some of the popular imported spirits. And so we see those as our main competitors in the local market. So we have a lot of the imported whiskeys and things that are around that general price range that sell in pretty high quantities here. So it's definitely for the high-end market, but it's not outside of what is normal for a high-end product here.
I want to try. I want to try taste it. Very curious.
One of the biggest challenges for us has been the sort of the last mile logistics, because there aren't too many high-end products being exported out of Benin. Is figuring out the best way to group it together to send it so that the freight costs aren't too expensive. But we do have a way to send via DHL through
Yeah.
most of the world. It just ends up being a little bit expensive. But,
Yeah.
maybe figure out a way
By
to get
DHL,
products.
how much does that cost to send it to the US?
It's about um,
DHL cost.
yeah, maybe about $80 to send 2 bottles.
So $80 is only the logistic cost
Just
from
the
DHL.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
quite
it
a
doesn't
lot.
make sense to sell in one bottle. One bottle is
Yeah.
about $60, two about
Yeah.
80. So it really only makes sense once you start sending 2, 3, 4 bottles. But it's still quite expensive. That's why for the US, we're able to send in larger quantities, sell through distributors, at least in New York for the time being. And there is an e-commerce store in New York that can
Yeah.
send to across most of the rest of the US. But,
I mean, as a consumer, I use Amazon.com a lot. From US to Hong Kong, I don't know how. I'm amazed at how Amazon.com deal with their logistic cost, because when they send me the like $20 electronic appliance, $30 appliance, they charge only the $2, $3, $5. So I don't know
it's incredible.
how amazing as compared to the other DHL, FedEx. Probably they have a different business model, and then also because of the scale, they can lower their logistic cost. Still very, very amazing, even compared to Alibaba and other. So haven't you thought about the selling to those kind of the e-commerce player?
Yeah, and we'd like to, and that's why we're working with Minuyo. One of the issues with alcohol specifically is, as it's a controlled substance. In most cases,
yes.
There's usually different rules required, like maybe a signature of an adult upon delivery. These types of things that make it a little bit more complicated than some other products. Also, as it's liquid in a glass bottle, it ends up being quite heavy for the volume. So you end up, those are two factors that sort of work against us in the logistics department.
Yes.
It's also just lack of volume coming out of Benin for shipments, especially by air freight. So all of that sort of impacts the price.
What is the biggest challenge in scaling your business, taking it to the next level? For example, skilled talent, or money, or sales and marketing, or I can imagine the poor logistic and infrastructure in Benin. So what are the biggest challenges for you?
Yeah, I think if I were to pick two, one would be the logistics that we sort of already talked about, and the second would be financing.
Financing.
And, I think a lot of the financing coming into markets like Benin end up being social investments, social impact investors, and or other development funds and things. And most of those immediately reject the premise of investing in alcohol.
Yeah, because
and so that sort of gives us a disadvantage.
Disadvantage, I can imagine.
And I think that paired with the lack of too much knowledge on the market, doesn't help. Investors generally stick to what they know, in a sense. So if they, either in an industry or in a geographical area, and there just aren't too many people investing into Benin at this moment.
Yes. What if you meet the foreign investor, who are willing to make a big bet on your business, say is $5 to $10 million US? Then what do you want to do with that money?
Well, if we got a big investment that would help us grow much more quickly, much quicker, we'd be able to increase our production capacity, increase our production rate, be able to group together larger shipments so that the cost per bottle for shipping abroad would go down significantly.
Yes.
In order of magnitude, even in shipping costs. And this would allow us to penetrate new markets and keep our prices competitive so that we could start partnerships with distributors and retailers in some other markets across the world.
Yes. I think, as you mentioned, like because of a category, like a financial institution or fund that may not be interested or may not allow to make investment into your business because they have a mandate, right? A pre-agreed mandate with the investor. In that case, probably potential investor might be a corporate investor who may be interested in distributing your liquor into Asia or China, something like that, right? Yeah, they could
Absolutely,
be
and we're very open to those
investor.
opportunities. If we find
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yes, I hope that some of the potential corporate investor have a chance to listen to or watch your this episode, and then I mean
That'd be great.
reach out to you.
I would love to talk to
Yeah.
anyone. So.
Yes. What do you have on top of your mind for the next step and your vision? Your vision for the your company.
Yeah, I think the project I'm most interested in the short term here is we're renovating our production facility to be able to set it up for a distillery tour to
Yeah.
have formal visits. And
Yeah.
so once sort of COVID calms down and tourism pops up a bit, but also
Yes.
currently with local tourism because
Yeah.
because people are having harder time traveling abroad, be able to share our facility with the world. And so just not only the fabrication process, but also we're having a small cultural center where we can explain the roots historically,
Yes.
culturally, this liquor
And
with
that's yeah. That sounds like an interesting idea. Yeah.
art. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So I
it's
think that's
about
our short term. That's what we're working on.
yeah. That's a popular in Asia as well. Like some Asian winery because they cannot compete with the French or the I mean U.S. wine. So instead they developed in the different direction, like a tourism business. So they accept the visitor and then help the visitor taste wine and then look. I mean, show around the vineyard, something like that. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea because nothing like that exists here. Nothing like that
Right.
exists even in West Africa that I know of. And so
Mm.
I think it can be a drawing point. I think we need
Yeah.
more and more activities and more, more opportunities for leisure for people to visit. And so that's why we're excited to,
Yes.
provide that.
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan. And Sodabi is, for example, whiskey or the wine or other liquor or the spirit. They after distilling, they preserve some way to improve the flavor or fragrance, right? For
Mhm.
example, Scotch whiskey, they put it inside the oak barrel, right? But how about the Sodabi? Do you, after distilling, do you go through the additional process to improve the taste or flavor?
So for the clear, we leave it exactly as it comes out of the stills.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for our spiced version, yeah, in the aging process, in the infusion process, that's when we're absorbing in some of those other flavors from the 14 ingredients that we add to it. And so that mellows out a bit the alcohol as it ages. It absorbs some of these other flavors and does sort of a similar process to what would happen for an aged or spiced rum or even like a whiskey. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Last question is, who is the nicest person you have ever met in your life?
The nicest person. You got me with this one. That was not one I was thinking about ahead of time. Nicest person. Maybe my mom. How
Your
about that?
mother. Yeah. I actually usually ask to exclude your mom or your wife. Anyway, it's okay. It's okay, no problem. Okay. So, if audience, viewer watched this video, interested in the ordering and then trying the Tambour, how can they reach out to you to place an order?
They can go to our website at tambouroriginal.com. And on there, we have an online store that will redirect them to the appropriate place depending on their location of residence or where they'd like to send the bottle.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at the, yeah.
Yeah, and I can send you some other pictures and things
Yes.
of our cocktails and of our facility and the bottles up close and things so that
Yeah.
you can have access to that as well.
Okay. So thank you so much taking time the showing around your nice liquor, Tambour. Yeah. The design quite pretty good actually. Quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with a friend, and drop me a review. Goodbye.